Hello, Mighty Marvelites. I'm Cebulski, your editor-in-chief, and thank you for joining us at Virtual San Diego. Now, welcome to Hall M. This is the one-stop shop for all the greatest news about Marvel Comics. We're going to be running through everything that's going to be happening throughout this year. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to fight for a seat. All you got to do is sit down and listen. Now, to take us through this summer's big event, starring the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, editor Tom Brevoort is going to walk us through Empyre. Take it away, Tom.
Hello, Quasi San Diego Convention. I am Tom Brevoort, Marvel's executive editor. We are here for the Marvel Empyre portion of our Next Big Thing panel. Joining me today on the left and right, theoretically, I can't see them because we're all remote, are the writers of Empyre. On one side, pick a side, is the author of Guardians of the Galaxy and The Immortal Hulk, and many other fine titles available at a comic shop near you, Mr. Al Ewing.
Hello, these are my real curtains.
And on the other side, somewhere, Mr. Dan Slott.
Hello!
Folks, we are, when this airs, when this comes to everybody, people will have seen the first two issues of Empyre. But just as a quickie introduction and setup, what can you tell folks about Empyre? What's going on, where we are?
It's the Kree, it's the Skrulls, it's the Katari, as you have read by now, and it's Earth, and they're all coming together in a quite literal War of the Worlds. Except Mars isn't involved. We left them out.
War of the Moon.
War of the Moon, yes. Yeah, no, this is the Kree and the Skrulls have come together at last after millennia of war.
And they're now flying under one flag and one ruler.
Oh, yeah. That ruler would be Hulkling, the young Avenger, new Avenger, fan favorite. He's taken the destiny we always promised for him. He is leading both the Kree and the Skrulls. And the big question is he just a figurehead for like the powers that be, just like a human flag to unite under? Or is he something more? Is he like a real king in waiting? And the people they're fighting against are the previously peaceful plant people, the Katari, who used to share a planet with the Kree before the Kree massacred them. Not a bright spot in their history. And now they want payback. They've got violent. They've succumbed to some new violent thoughts, and they're taking it out on the entire galaxy. And Earth is right in the middle of it.
Dan, over in the Empyre Fantastic Four 0, we did the 2 zeros to lead into this. And in that 0, we introduced a couple of characters that are of import both to Empyre itself and to the Fantastic Four going forward. What can you tell me about who these people are and why they're so important?
By this point in time, you have met Joven and Nakala, who are the Kree Chronicle of Blood and the Skrull Requiem of the Shapeless Soul. These two beings are the living histories of the millennia of the Kree Skrull conflict. And there is more to them than meets the eye, and they are going to be insanely important to the future of the Fantastic Four and to the Empyre.
I actually want to switch us off right now to talk for 2 seconds about some people who aren't here, but who are integral to everything we're doing in Empyre. So I want to give both of you the chance for the next couple of seconds to enthuse about the work that Valerio Schiti and Marte Gracia are doing in visualizing all of this stuff.
Valeria is amazing. Like every page of this landing in my inbox is like a new delight. And some of the vistas, I have not been easy on him. I'll confess that right now. But some of the vistas and massive action packed shots and beautiful sweeping like settings, and then the other thing he does great is those tiny little moments of emotion. And there are quite a lot of those. There's a lot of emotional beats in there. There's a lot of like, I mean, if I were to say which emotions, that'd be a spoiler. But we get a lot of them. We get most of them. I'd say we get like a decent collection of emotions, and of it, Valerio just everything that guy turns his hand to, he's the master.
He has redesigned the Kotati. He's designed whole new looks for the Kree and the Skrull Empire. He's designed spaceships, battlefields. You are throwing everything in the world at Valerio. You're throwing him Avengers and all the Fantastic Four and surprises. This is everything you want out of a Marvel event.
Iron Man suits. Design a new Iron Man suit. I think I said to him one morning.
Have they seen that yet? Have they seen no. Because they're only up to issue 2. Ooh.
Yeah. Valerio is a fabulous designer, and he's done so many designs that we've actually been including them in the backs of all of the issues of Empyre as we've gone along. So people here will have seen the first 2 issues worth, but there's actually 4 more issues worth of designs and character interpretations and ships and equipment and everything. He really went to town in a big way on all of this.
And this is now the look for the Kree and the Skrull from now on. This is, if, of course, they survive Empyre. And don't forget about Marte.
Indeed. Marte, his colors, they kind of leap off the page. I mean, like I was saying, you've got these huge battles, everybody kind of expertly picked out. You've got like... in space, you've got when you're in space, so you get, beautiful sunsets, beautiful sort of interstellar vistas, and just brings it all out, brings it all to life in a way that, you look at the original art and it's fantastic, but that Marte just brings that extra dimension to it, that extra layer of beauty to it.
Yeah, they both have felt very engaged and involved in this story in particular. By a complete fluke, the first Marvel comic that Valerio ever read was the Fantastic Four annual that had Beldan and Raxor in it, who have been big background players in the setup for Empyre. And so to him, this is very much...
them.
Yes.
I mean...
one of the other things we wanted to touch on, just briefly, just to give a little tease, Al, is we have announced that we're doing the Immortal She-Hulk as one of the Empyre epilogues. So without giving anything away or so forth, clearly this is a place where it's an opportunity for you to bridge between what you've been doing in Immortal Hulk and what's been going on with Jen Walters in Avengers. But what can you say about this that won't reveal anything too hairily?
Well, as Immortal Hulk readers know, when we kind of intersect with the rest of the Marvel Universe and sort of touch on it, it's usually in the form of these big 30-page specials. So readers can sort of have a little something extra and sort of see how the story we're telling in the main Hulk book intersects with the rest of the Marvel Universe. And this is one of those. This is basically how does all of the stuff we've been doing in Immortal Hulk, the nature of gamma radiation, the Green Door, all the stuff with the Below Place and the One Below All, how does all that tie into Jennifer Walters? What's Jennifer Walters' experience of that? How does what she goes through in Empyre, how does that tie in? And by the end of Empyre, readers, maybe readers who haven't been picking up Immortal Hulk are going to have a few questions. Readers who have been picking up that book are going to have a few questions. This book is going to have the answers to the questions they will have, and I can't tell you what those questions will be yet.
Or the answers. But both the questions and the answers will be there. Dan, over in FF and in your Zero book, you also introduced a new Elder of the Universe, who's kind of a pivotal character. What can you tell us? I mean, people will have already read the Zero at this point, but we're not done with the Profiteer just yet. What else can you tell us about how she fits into the scheme of things going forward?
The Profiteer only cares about one thing: making profit. She wants to, at the end of the game, she wants to have the most toys. And that is all she cares about. And her biggest meal ticket to date has been supplying the arms for both the Kree and the Skrull. So everything that happens in Empyre is going to have a big effect on her, what she's up to, and we are going to see her in the Cosmic Book some more. By the very end of Fantastic Four Fallout, which will come at the end of Empyre, you will also see major ramifications for the Fantastic Four, for the Marvel Cosmos, and for the Marvel Universe. The entire Marvel Universe. If you are in the Marvel Universe, you will be affected by Fantastic Four Fallout of Empyre issue, because that's how big everything in Empyre is. Oh my God!
I can back all that up.
All right, we've run through most of our time, but just for a last sort of summation, obviously people are now getting to experience the story. We're a little coming out a little later than we'd anticipated, thanks to all the stuff that's going on in the world. But as we move into the real heart and the spine of the story, what's your take? What do you hope people take from it and get out of it? How would you summarize the experience? All of that kind of jazz. What do you got for me?
I mean, I can tell you what I'm looking forward to most, both now and what I'll still be looking forward to when you're watching this, which is the reaction of readers to that shock ending we talked about at the end of issue 4. And the resolution of it. I am very, very much looking forward to the reaction of readers to that. And that's all I'll say about that.
Definitely.
This is about the FF. This is about the Avengers. And as much as the Kree Skrull Empire is going to change, as much as the Marvel Cosmos is going to change, these characters are going to walk out with things are going to happen. You're going to want to follow what's coming up next. And you're not going to want to miss this. This is very important. This is when events mean something. Stuff happens. Things change. Hearts and minds. Empires.
That's
love,
a whole
hate.
thing. It's a whole
Teams,
thing.
Family.
It's a meal. It's a full meal.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yep.
All right.
All have glasses and beards. How did that happen?
Oh, okay. That I want to thank everybody for being here, for coming, for reading Empyre, particularly under the slightly more difficult conditions that it is to do. Please stay safe. We want you to read Empyre, but we want you to be healthy and hail as you go. Enjoy the rest of the virtual San Diego convention, and we'll see you in the pages of Marvel Comics every week. Goodbye.
Wow. Now, I've read all the issues of Empyre already, but that got me so excited. So thank you, Tom, Dan, and Al, for walking us through Empyre. The first 2 issues available in comic shops now. But as we've covered the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, there are lots of other teams in the Marvel Universe that we need to cover. So let's go to the world of the Merry Mutants with Jordan White, Tini Howard, and Gerry Duggan, who are going to take us through this fall's big X-Men event, 10 of Swords.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan D. White. I am the senior editor in charge of X-Men over at Marvel, and with me are 2 amazing writers that I work with. First of all, Tini Howard, who writes Excalibur.
Hello.
And also Gerry Duggan, who writes Marauders and Cable.
Hello, Comic-Con.
So thank you guys for being here. Now, both of you are working on 10 of Swords with me. Now, 10 of Swords is this massive, epic X-Men crossover that crosses over into every book that we're publishing in the X-Men line. And it comes out of this whole Dawn of X status quo with Krakoa that Jonathan Hickman has lovingly set up for us and that all of us have been running with for the past, not quite a year, but getting close to a year since he started. And it's a story that has grown out of all of the track he laid down and then all of the track that you guys have laid down, especially, Tini, some of the stuff you've been setting up in Excalibur. So, Tini, what can you tease for us about what's coming up in Ten of Swords, especially considering that some of it, like I said, grows straight out of Excalibur?
Sure, Jordan. Well, let's see. Ten of Swords is obviously really, really close to my heart. I've been working with Jonathan and Jordan really closely on making sure that everything that's coming out of it, everything that you guys are going to be experiencing as part of it is feels both really exciting and also like a natural extension of some of what we've seen in House of 10 or House of X and Powers of 10 and Dawn of X going forward. A lot of it just came out of stuff that, it was all just like really natural storytelling stuff. Like Jonathan and I just kind of realized that we were both trying to tell similar stories about certain characters and that we could bring them to a head together in this huge event that also just kind of is going to blow the world of what mutants have been dealing with so far wide open. It's absolutely weird. You guys know I like weird. It comes out of a lot of my love for a lot of things people have seen in Excalibur. The idea of magic not just as a thing that lets you fly around and shoot fireballs or whatever, but magic as the idea of a cultural practice, and the idea of the ideas of like being a knight of something, being representative of something, what it means to hold a sword and fight for something. That's all stuff that we're going to explore in Ten of Swords. It's going to be really exciting character work too for a lot of your favorite characters. They all have some fun stuff coming up.
So Ten of Swords, like we said, it's a crossover. So it's not the kind of event that a lot of times Marvel will do where there's a main book and then tie-in books. This is a story that goes into every title. So every part of it connects to and is a chapter of this main story. There's 22 chapters to this giant epic. So Gerry, you work on Marauders and Cable, both of which are going to have issues of this. But how did you enjoy collaborating on this? Because again, it's not just you two and Jonathan, it's also a bunch of other writers who we've got working on this. Leah Williams, Vita Ayala, Ben Percy, Ed Brisson, Zeb Wells. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. Who am I leaving out?
Yeah, it's been so much fun. We've been very collaborative. Writing comics is often a solitary effort, but that has not been the case so far on Krakoa. We have our private secret meeting rooms, and we have been consistently cooking up story threads for all these books to interweave. I think the charm of that of this for me is that I'm getting to work closely with Vita and Ben and everyone, and you're going to not just see some of the X-Men in new writers' hands. You're also going to see new names on books. I'm getting to co-write with Ben on on X-Force and Wolverine, and Ben's co-writing my Marauders issues, and Vita's got a standalone Marauders story. So we're definitely singing into the mics like the E Street Band on this one, and it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I can't wait for people to see what actually happens. So it's called the Ten of Swords. Tini, that name comes from tarot cards.
It does.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, I have to say, as a person that loves weird symbolism, I was just tickled by the way that Jonathan has leaned into the X of 10. And like really early on, I've talked about this before, and like the way I approached my work in Krakoa was less like, here's a book with a cool bunch of cool X-Men I want to write, and like, here's a part of mutant culture that I would like to shepherd. And I really, really early on attached to certain characters as part of that, who are now a big part of the story of Ten of Swords. So it's, I don't know, a lot of the work we do in Next Rooms is like nothing I've ever done as a writer. It's really, really freeing, especially when you're working, on things, that are not your own characters and things that you have to shepherd and have fans and stuff. It's really, really freeing to get to just like sit around with the other X-writers and, to have had this event that I'm doing with Jonathan not form out of like, what felt like, like mandates or assignments, and more of just what kind of felt like Jonathan and I being like, so we both want to tell this same story, right? Like, we're both working toward this same story, but just from different angles. And we kind of realized that Ten of Swords is where a lot of it was leading. If you know the tarot at all, you know that the Ten of Swords is the end of a suit, which means it's like all the suits. There's a journey, and the Suit of Swords, if you're a tarot reader, does not end. It's not end well.
To give them just the smallest bit of tease, what character has the best bit so far in this entire story? Who is your choice for best moment in the book so far?
As the person that has been writing Marauders, I'm very excited for this story because of Storm's part in it. Finally, there's a super, super cool story that we've been dying to tell. When you see Russell Dauterman and Matt Wilson's cover for Marauders, you'll understand why I'm so excited about this story for Storm. We should show that cover. I'm going to show that cover.
All right, let's do it.
Look at they put the X of Swords logo in the back. That's the halo.
It's pretty amazing. Tini, how about you?
We're all very excited for the story that has developed for young Douglas Ramsey. He's, look, there's a part of me that's like, Betsy, Apocalypse, because like I love writing them, and their stories are so important to me. And there are some characters that I don't even want to say that I'm excited to write because I don't want to spoil it, but I'll say this. The room has lit up every time we start talking about Doug's story in Ten of Swords. It can be the earliest, sleepiest, most worn out video call, and the second we start talking about the Doug story, everyone's like, and this happens. We all Cypher fans are gonna have a great time.
It's very true.
Agreed. If I had to pick, I mean, I probably would say I'm most excited about something with Captain Britain. So
that email you sent, we saw some good art the other night.
We did.
And you had some
nice stuff.
That's even better than I imagined it. Wow.
Terrific.
And you know what? Just another example of how X-Men are family books. This whole visual that Jordan and I are geeking out about that you'll see from an artist that I'm not sure if we can discuss yet. It came out of an idea that I was chewing on, and Leah Williams was like, it was just, I don't know what I'm doing here, and this and that and the other, and just chit-chatting. And she was like, what if we did it this way? And that's like so much of how our books get written. I think everyone in the X-Room at some point or another during the writing of Ten of Swords has reached out to me just to be like, hey, let's look at this moment where our books touch. Let's both look at it and make sure it works. Or this through line, I started in this chapter, but can you pick it up again in your chapter? And can you make sure that you set this up for me? And it's like, that's how these books have kind of been written for like the past year. But then Ten of Swords is like us really just vamping and showing you guys how good we've gotten at writing these books as a team. Like we've been practicing for a year to show you guys how good we've gotten at this.
I'm glad the writers all feel like we're on the shores of Krakoa singing Kumbaya. The artists are being asked to draw some almost impossible stuff that they are crushing. I sent Stefano Caselli the first pages of Marauders 15, and he didn't quit the book. And I'm so happy that he's going to draw these almost impossible pages. Phil Noto's been turning in just incredible. It's hard to top yourself when you're Stefano Caselli and Phil Noto, but these guys are doing that. When you see the Russell covers and the stuff that Pepe is doing, and RB now drawing Excalibur, everyone is hitting on all cylinders, and I know that this is going to land well with the fans. I can't wait for you guys to get your hands on it.
All of the artists that you mentioned are doing great work right now. There's a few others that I should throw out the names of. We definitely have Mahmoud Esrar doing some amazing work on this series. We've got Matteo Loli doing some great work for us. We've got Carmen Carnero. We've got Victor Bogdanovich. We've got Josh Cassara. This is really some of the best artists that we've ever worked with, all coming together to tell one story. And it's going to be a top of the line package. Like, honestly, I think you're going to love it. So
the first 8 or so pages of Ten of Swords 2, we gave Pepe an insane challenge. You'll understand when you read it, but I mean, we just asked him to create us beautiful, massive things out of whole cloth. And I mean, I'm a person, I love giving an artist a vibe. Like I don't usually give an artist a thing and say, there's a reference photo of this one thing. I'll say, like, here's 10 things I was thinking about, and here's the playlist I was listening to. I'm like, I always tell artists, I'm like, they're ingredients, not prescriptions. Like, please, and I feel like Pepe just took that and somehow was like, oh, like, what was inside your head but better? Like, he absolutely, and it's just incredible. I mean, he has just birthed galaxies for us. I'm blown away. I'm speechless by what Pepe is doing on the main book right now. Getting to write some of my first pages in a Marvel event book and having them be those Pepe pages, I'm okay with that.
Thank you so much for listening to us. Ten of Swords starts in September. It's going to be running 22 chapters all the way through the end of November. And like I said, check it out, pick it up. It's going to be a good time all the way through. Now I'm going to throw it back to CB, who's got some more Marvel news for you.
Hey now, Jordan, look, I know we're not in the offices and we're working virtually, but you got to start sending me those scripts. I'm in the loop, but even I didn't know the things you just talked about with Storm and Betsy. As one of the world's biggest X-Men fans, I need to know. So get them over here, buddy. Now, who's a big Spider-Man fan? Let's introduce Nick Lowe, editor of Amazing Spider-Man, who's going to walk us through issue 850 and the return of one of Peter's greatest arch rivals. Take it away, Nick.
Thank you so much, CB. Hello, San Diego. Hello, world. Welcome to Virtual Comic-Con and the Marvel panel. We are so excited to be here. We have such a treat for you Spider fans out there. Today, I am joined by two Spider legends. I am joined by Amazing Spider-Man writer Nick Spencer. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And also joining us today, Marvel artistic legend Mark Bagley has returned to Amazing Spider-Man. Hello, Mark.
Legendary. That's right, legendary.
So thank you all both for joining us today. Just in case anyone out there is crazy and isn't already reading Amazing Spider-Man, I wanted to give you a little setup of how things are going in Amazing Spider-Man. Basically, they aren't going well for Peter Parker at all. There's a silver lining. He's back together with Mary Jane Watson. He's back in school. He's a grad student at Empire State University. He's studying under Kurt Connors, a.k.a. The Lizard. The Lizard is his professor. He's rooming with one of his best friends, Randy Robertson, but also with supervillain Boomerang? What? It's true. And Randy and Pete aren't the only people who kind of hate Boomerang, but it's not for the same reason that he leaves all the dirty dishes in the sink. The Kingpin, who is the mayor of New York City, wants to kill the Boomerang, but he wants everyone's hands off of his roommate, Peter Parker. Now, why, you might ask? Well, it is because of someone named Kindred. Kindred is a mysterious new villain. He's got bandages all over his face. He's got centipedes that crawl all over him. And not much is known about this mysterious villain. That's all going to be changing very, very soon because he has big plans, and they all start with Sins Rising. Nick, can you tell us a bit about Sins Rising, where you came up with the idea and kind of what's in store for that?
Well, Sins Rising really does represent the escalation of the next part of our big Kindred story. And, Kindred has been lurking in the shadows and kind of plaguing Peter Parker's nightmares. And now he's going to come to the surface. And this is the first part of his play. And it involves resurrecting one of my favorite Spider-Man villains from the classic Spectacular Spider-Man run, the Sin Eater. So the Sin Eater has returned. He has been changed. He has a whole new set of powers and revelations that we're going to be rolling out over this arc. And things are just going to get worse and worse for Spidey as the Sin Eater makes his presence felt in Peter's life.
And what you have happening there is just incredible. I mean, Sin Eater was already a huge looming figure in Peter's life, as he is the man who killed Jean DeWolf and set off one of the most classic Spider-Man stories. And so having him back and in this new terrifying way has just been incredible to read. And I can't wait for everyone out there to share it. But that's not the only rogue that you have on the horizon, because we're coming up on Amazing Spider-Man number 49, which is 49 of this volume. But if you count up all the issues of Amazing Spider-Man, it is also Amazing Spider-Man Legacy number 850. And we are going to pull out all the stops, including bringing one of Spider-Man's biggest villains back. Nick, can you tell us who it is? And Mark, don't be too afraid, okay? It's pretty scary. So be careful.
Yeah, it's the biggest villain of them all for Peter Parker, I think. The Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, will be coming back into Spidey's life with issue 850 and a little bit just before. So how that factors into the Sin Eater story, how that factors into the Kindred story, you're going to have to read to find out. But Norman Osborn is a major player in that story.
Yep. This is not a story to be trifled with. Both Sins Rising, which puts Peter through a gauntlet that he's never been through before in any way, shape, or form, and puts Spider-Man in a corner in a way that I've never read before. And it all leads to number 850. Now, we are, like I said, we are joined by Mark Bagley, who's rejoined the Amazing Spider-Man team for the first time in a long time. So long. Was that the Cretaceous period that you last drew it, Mark? I can't remember.
I think the Neolithic period. Yeah.
But Mark comes back for Amazing Spider-Man 45, and he dabbles with us during Sins Rising, but he is one of the legends. He's joined by Ryan Otley and Humberto Ramos for the main story of 850. But Mark, what is it like to be back on Amazing Spider-Man?
It's amazing. Yeah, that was easy. It's really, for me, it's exciting. I mean, I've drawn, I'm really known for Amazing Spider-Man back in the 90s, and I did Ultimate Spider-Man. But it's really been 20 years since I drew Spider-Man regularly. And it's been 30 probably since I actually drew an issue of Amazing Spider-Man, because I am that old. And I really wanted to see how I could handle it, because back in the day, I've never felt like I lived up to, John Romita and Gil Kane and Ross Andrew and Steve Ditko. It was never my spot. It never felt like I was there.
That's crazy.
I wanted to see if 30 years later I really feel, because Ultimate Spider-Man, that felt like it was all mine anyway. But with this, I wanted to know if I was really there, if I was still relevant. And, I've been having a great time, and I think I'm drawing really well right now. So
you are drawing your butt off. There, like every page. I think Nick, you said it once. When Mark started turning pages in, I think you can you remember what it felt like to see Mark Bagley?
It's been one of the best thrills of my career, really.
That's great.
As somebody that was, reading those Amazing Spider-Man Mark Bagley drawn issues off the newsstand when they were coming out, to be collaborating with Mark on this is really just one of the biggest thrills and honors of my career. I'm over the moon about it.
Mark, have there been any particular challenges that you've hit when you've been drawing these issues? Any characters that have been like a surprise to you as far as like someone who was way more fun to draw than you thought would be, or something like that?
Challenges wise, is following Humberto Ramos and Otley. I mean, 850s, we split it up, and I've never seen Humberto's pencils before, and they're amazing. And his version of Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, is just insane. And I didn't really see it before I started working on my version, my section. And once I saw his, I went, "What crap!" So I went back and actually, tweaked faces and worked on it some. I've never drawn the 616 Norman Osborn very much before. I did a mini series, I think, but he never showed up in my Amazing Spider-Man run all the 5 or 6 years I worked on it. So that was kind of fun.
But this, but for anyone out there who's a Norman Osborn fan, you've got to pick up this book, because the stuff that happens leading up to 850 and in 850 and beyond, you do not want to miss it. I don't want to spoil anything for you, because we got so many surprises, and I want you to have the best experience that you can have. But so you've got to start with Amazing Spider-Man 45 on sale soon, all the way through number 850, and then we start paving the way for something called Last Remains that we can't talk about it yet. We can't talk about it yet. But that is also bonkers, and there's so much great in store for Amazing Spider-Man fans. Gentlemen, anything else before we pass the baton to the next people?
I just want to say thank you so much to everybody that's been reading the book and enjoying the book. I mean, the response issue in, issue out to this has been so fantastic. And for me, look, I've always said the same thing. Writing Amazing Spider-Man is my dream job, and getting to do this every day for a living is just so great. So just thank you all for giving me the chance to do it.
Spider-Man's always been my favorite character, and to be back on him and thinking I'm doing a pretty good job on it, having that opportunity. I've been doing this a long time. It never gets old. I don't take it for granted for a second that I do what I love for a living, and to be working on Spider-Man just is like the icing on the cake. So thank you, and hopefully don't stop buying it because of me. But
they'd be crazy too. So thank you both for joining us. Thank you, Comic-Con, people in San Diego, people all over the world watching this. Make mine Marvel, and I'm going to toss this over to some schlub is going to talk to you about some other book. So I guess go enjoy it. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Nick. I don't know why you have to be rude, but enough of your spider nonsense. Let's talk about something truly terrifying. This October, we have a new comic coming out called Werewolf by Night, written by Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas and Ben Jackendoff. In fact, we have Ben here right now to talk to you about it. Ben, welcome to Virtual San Diego Comic-Con. Tell me a bit about Werewolf by Night. What attracted you to this project, and kind of what makes Werewolf by Night as amazing as it is?
Yeah, I mean, what really brought us to this project was Red Wolf, actually. The history of Tab with Red Wolf and his love of Red Wolf was kind of how we found our ways with Werewolf by Night, because when we did the Marvel 1000, actually last summer, it was with the Red Wolf one page. And then when we were asked to come in and work with this awesome character of Red Wolf, but bring him into the Werewolf by Night world and create this brand new character, I mean, we were so excited. We were like, wait, we get to make a new awesome Werewolf by Night and also have Red Wolf in it. And that was what really brought us to this project. And it was just, I mean, from there, it's been such a joy. It's been such an amazing project.
That's so incredible. And it's so much has to do with why this is such a quintessential Marvel comic. The personal connection, the world outside your window, finding ways to bring the superheroic together with just an everyday life of a person. And there's so much action in this book, and there's so much cool. Scott Eaton is drawing his butt off on this book.
He's amazing.
Yeah. Every Marvel hero is defined by the Marvel villains that they face. Ben, can you tell us a little bit about the villains in Werewolf by Night?
Yeah, I mean, in creating these villains, Tab and I have this thing of digital and analog. The idea of nature versus kind of the digital world and technology, and how so much of native, it's about being a custodian to nature. So in our kind of opposition to that was creating this villain, and is creating this villain that basically is the epitome of technology, kind of like this Tetsuo, the Iron Man inspiration, and the idea of creating these kind of cybernetic that are half-breed type creatures that are in direct opposition to Jake, who is a full werewolf that comes from the mysticism of Earth, like shamanism and, you know, a lot of these kind of natural elements. And where, you know, our villain, Dr. Eve Mikowski, who we'll get to know, is creating these cybernetic creatures, and she's on this path to trying to find the perfect evolution of what humanity will be. And you know, without giving too much away of the story, that really is what we are looking at right now, especially, you know, how do we live in balance with these new technologies that are being created just like this, you know, where we can all be able to talk, and, you know, versus how do we stay in touch with nature, and how do we stay in touch with, you know, what has made us organic beings. So it's the idea of the analog, digital, organic versus, you know, digital creation.
That is so cool. I mean, this book, it is also one of the neatest things about this book as well is that, like a lot of the best Marvel books, it has its own flavor. Like, there is some definite horror going on here. There is all kinds of, like, I mean, body horror and just, like, scariness.
No. Wait a second. I'm getting word. It's true. We are now being joined by Werewolf by Night co-writer and international pop star Taboo.
Thank you, guys.
Taboo, so glad to have you. We were just talking about the horror elements of Werewolf by Night. Can you tell us why that was something that interested you?
I'm a big fan of horror films from the 80s and even, like, I mean, 70s. So, I mean, I've not only being a toy collector, not only being a comic book head, I've also loved, like, Clive Barker movies. And, you know, I've grown up with that style of entertainment. And it was cool to be able to do it at a level where it wasn't over the top, but still implementing that, keeping it PG, because, you know, I wanted to make sure that my kids can read it and enjoy it, where it's not like too much cussing, too much craziness, because I do have young kids. I want them to be inspired by the comic, but also, like, feel connected to it in a way, because it is the story of a lot of us kids who are urban natives that want to connect with their heritage. And a lot of times we're born in the city and we really don't know a lot about our native roots. And so with me, like, learning through my grandmother about our culture, it really helped me. So applying, you know, a little bit of, like, the scary werewolf bit, but also a little bit of a learning experience about connecting with your native roots or your Mexican culture, and making it inclusive for everyone. Because this is not a Native American story. This is just happens to be that Jake is Native and Mexican, and it's a werewolf story. It's a coming of age story because he's a teenager, and it's like, we always call it the hormone monster, right?
Hormone monster. Yeah, I mean, that really is what it's about. I mean, you know, when you are a teenager and all of a sudden you have all these feelings and emotions that you don't know what to do with, well, it's all this energy that becomes the werewolf. And I think that's really what we've been playing with Jake. And it's this, you know, how he's relating to himself and to, you know, Molly, his best friend, and his grandmother. And now all of a sudden, you know, the world that he's, you know, kind of pulling back, you know, the world that he works in is he's a janitor in this large corporation. And what is it that lurks beneath the surface? And that's something we love to play with. We love to play with this duality of worlds.
Well, I think everyone is in for such a treat. Make sure you pick up Werewolf by Night, on sale this October, written by Taboo and Ben Jackendoff, drawn by Scott Eaton, Scott Hanna, and colors by Miroslav Merva. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, everyone, at Virtual Comic-Con.
And check out the new album, Translation, Black Eyed Peas, out now. Black Eyed Peas Translation out now.
Make mine marble, and we'll see you all soon.
Fantastic Four, Avengers, Spider-Man, X-Men, Werewolf by Night. You just got the most incredible download on some of the greatest comics coming out from Marvel this fall. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Captain America 25, Fantastic Four Antithesis, Hulk Maestro. All kinds of goodies are going to be on shelves in your local comic stores soon. So get down and check it out. I really appreciate you joining us here in virtual San Diego. There is so much more coming. Be sure to check out all the other panels. Be sure to keep reading your favorite Marvel comics. And now, and as always, make mine Marvel. Thanks.